So I don't know where you're from. For some reason,
No one
I
does.
actually thought you might have been American. I don't know why.
Everyone thinks that.
Yeah. But where are you actually from?
Southeast London.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, I grew up listening to a lot of American music. So it was like American soul, gospel music and that. And obviously I think I do feel like back in the day there weren't as many British artists of colour that were actually doing that and singing with an accent. So you didn't even know you could do that at the time, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's so sick to see that now.
Yeah.
I feel like I can't lose it at this point. But it confuses everyone. I love it. It's
No,
great.
that's good. I like it. That I think it's not really about that. It's like whatever is comfortable and what you can use to like
For sure.
portray. But like, where do you feel like your sort of like Southeast London heritage or like your culture then does come into your music? Like, how does that apply if it's not within the accent? Is it through the experiences or the lyricism or whatever?
Yeah, I think it's experiences and lyricism. I think that for me now anyway, I can't talk about things that aren't based off of my experience. So there's always going to be elements of it that is just deep rooted in there because, you know, I'm British and I love it. So it's impossible for me. Yeah. But what about you? Where are you from? And
I'm from West London.
Okay, sick.
Caribbean heritage, like mixed heritage.
Sick.
I've tried to like tone down my Englishness when I'm singing because like
Really?
I think like because I would like keep my accent, people were like, oh, you like singing like Lily Allen, and I was like, no, I'm just singing like myself. But like like you said, like growing up in the 2000s, for example, there wasn't a lot of like black British like role models where you could see them like keeping the accents, and like the people who were doing it, like when I was in school and people were singing with like British accents, it was sort of like like a Jamie T or like a sort of like so it took me a while to come into it, but like I'm definitely very sort of my West London roots like come strong, like whether it's in the music or the visuals or the stylisticness, like it's definitely there. I did also grow up in the church. It was cool. It was like a Caribbean like gospel church, and then then that's what I was christened in, and then it was like a bigger one like Ruach, you know, part of like gospel churches and just like black churches is like it's very music fronted. So like that was probably my first like being exposed to like bands and music, and the best drummers are, in my opinion, church drummers.
Oh yeah,
like,
for sure.
like
I
Ezra
honestly
Collective, all
think
of them.
the
like,
best musicians come from the church because I think it's so deep rooted in you when you're a kid to just know how to play. So it's like,
but the style of playing as well, when you're playing for like when you've grown up playing where you're playing out of praise or playing for gods, like the style and the intention of doing it is different, and that's how you get that vibe. Even if you then take that to another place or take that to the wider music world, that innate sort of like who you're playing for. I think that has kind of got a style to it in a way where
it almost feels kind of selfless. It's not as self-serving as I'm sure we both know what it's like to stand on stage and have people like sing songs at you.
My personal opinion of something that like in the wider music industry needs changing is that like music on the surface of like artists is obviously like really, really diverse. You get so many different people. Like I never feel like the teams behind who aren't like the poster for it, like I wish if they were just as diverse as the actual musicians we see, like if the labels, the companies, the businesses were just as diverse, like behind the camera, behind the computer as it is in front of it in the music video as well, we would see so much more of a change. I don't believe we will ever see change until like the infrastructure of the offices and the desks and all of those is just as diverse as all the people who get to be the face of it. Do you know what I mean?
I think honestly for me, one of the weirdest things has kind of harmed the industry is the idea of attention's quite different. So it's like, okay, we're musicians, right? And we're artists and creatives, but it almost feels like that's not enough. Currently, it's like that's kind of the last part. That's the last thing on the list that matters. And I think now there's so many other things like the social media part of it, which I think helps. I think the social media side of it is really beneficial. But I think that it's so much of that now that you do have people almost creating for that.
Getting an artist at the development stage, it's so important because you get to flesh out building a team together, how they want to present themselves, and you give them time to figure that out.
Exactly.
But like, I don't know how it was for you, but for me, like, I did have that long development time.
Yeah,
I did
same.
it independent and like slowly built a team to a point where like I can ask a bit more like for what I want, or like play the festivals that I want to play. But like that time was so valuable, like for me to do that, because you need to like figure that out. But it also means not making a lot of money very quickly.
Yeah, if there was anything you could change in your music journey, what would it be?
That's a really good question. Like, obviously this is such a like, well, actually kind of like question. Like, obviously I'm so happy with where I'm at now, and it's taken every L that I've ever done like to be here. So it's like, you know, sometimes you're like, oh, if I could change that one embarrassing moment in my past, would I do that? But it's like, actually I wouldn't be the boss that I am today. But the name Lava LaRue, I started
sick
that,
name, by the way.
Cute.
Very sick.
It's like an anagram of my real name, Ava Laurel. Like I started the project Lava LaRue like quite young, like I was like 15 or 16 when like I started that name. Must have been 16, and I started putting stuff on SoundCloud. And like basically I feel like my whole journey of figuring out my sound and figuring out who I just coming in, like literally like going through puberty, becoming a young adult, like all these things, it's kind of documented all through like my music, and it's all out there, and like I can't take it down because it's like on Colours Berlin or something like that. So I'm like, okay, cool. Like, do you know what I mean? But it's fine. Like, it's all part of my journey. Do you know what I mean?
For sure.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, I feel the same. Like, everything's been a part of the journey, and it is almost like you said, with seeing your stuff online, it's like a sort of memory book, or like a time capsule that you can kind of just, you know, go back and be like, oh wow, that's where I was at that point, and that's what I was doing. And you know, like, I've had so many moments where I've actually been able to watch something back or see something, and I'm just like, wow, I remember exactly what space I was in at that time, and I remember exactly what kind of artist I was trying to be, or what person I was trying to be, or what person I was.